I'm losing everything now. Yolanda.
I've got one more
There it is.
person that's.
We're ready.
Good morning, caller. Can I get your name for roll call, please? Morning.
Oh, hang on.
Good morning, caller. Can I get your name for roll call?
Okay, sorry. It's Terry Miles,
Okay,
MYLES.
I'm going to put you on mute.
Sorry, I'm so late. I'm not familiar on this stuff.
Okay, I'm going to put you on mute, caller. Got two more people coming in. Good morning, caller. Can I get your name for roll call, please?
No.
Madam Chair, I'm
Ready?
ready.
Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 9:47 a.m. We are having technical difficulties today, so you'll have to bear with us. And we'll do the best that we can do. Deputy Mayor Gibson is absent today. She won't be attending the meeting. And I'll start out with the territorial land acknowledgement. Before our meeting gets underway, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman is located on the Mississauga Anishinaabe territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. The Township of Alnwick-Haldeman respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I need a motion to approve are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. Item 4, approval of the agenda as circulated. Be it resolved that the municipal planning meeting agenda of Thursday, September 22nd, 2022 be approved as circulated. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Philp, second. Councillor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Item 5 is approval of the planning minutes Thursday, July 28th. Be it resolved that the municipal planning meeting minutes of Thursday, July 28th, 2022 be approved. Mover? Councillor Philip, second. Councillor Booth, all in favor? Carried. Item 6, motion to adjourn to the Land Division Committee, Committee of Adjustment. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, being a Land Division Committee, Committee of Adjustment, adjourn to a Land Division Committee, Committee of Adjustment meeting for the purpose of hearing consent applications at 9:50 a.m. Mover? Councillor Hogg, second. Councillor Philip, all in favor? Carried. Item 7 is the consent applications, and the first one is Doug Kelly Excavating, AH-15 2022. There are 6 separate consents and lot line adjustments with this. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to take us through.
Certainly, through you, Mayor Latchford. Doug Kelly, on behalf of Doug Kelly Excavating, has submitted 2 applications, AH-15 and AH-16, for the creation of 2 Hamlet residential lots in the hamlet of Fenella. These lots will be located on, the subject property is located on the east side of County Road 45. The proposals are to create, there are two applications that are to create two lots side by side. I'm going to discuss both of those lots together because the same issues and policy planning framework applies to both of them. And when it comes time to make a decision, we'll make it, I'll request that council or land division make a decision on each application. But for discussion purposes, I'll review them both at the same time. So applications AH 15 and AH 16 propose to create two vacant rural residential lots on the east side of County Road 45 in the hamlet of Fenella. The properties with the lots that to be created are about 0.42 hectares. And the property has irregular topography. It's in the designated settlement area of Fenella. So the lots would be hamlet residential lots. The lands immediately south and east of the subject property are under active agricultural cultivation. There's a former church which has been converted into a dwelling, and it's located in the southwest corner of the property. And Fenella Community Hall is located approximately 95 meters north of the subject property. So the property is located in a hamlet designation, Fenella. So that's identified in the official plan. The provincial policy statement, the county official plan, and the township official plan all permit residential development in designated settlement areas. The application is consistent with the PPS and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, both which direct residential development to settlement areas. In their May 20, I have the wrong date for the Lower Trent comments. In their September comments, Lower Trent Conservation commented that there are no identified natural heritage features or hazards or water features of provincial concern on the subject property. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the growth plan. The property is not located in the Oak Ridges Moraine, so the Oak Ridges Moraine is not relevant to this application. The property in the county official plan, it's designated as rural settlement area, and they're intended to lands that are designated as such are intended for residential development. And the application is consistent with the county OP. The subject property is designated hamlet, as I said earlier, in the township official plan, and the purpose of the hamlet designation is to recognize existing hamlets and identify them as centers for social and commercial uses within the municipality. The proposed hamlet residential lots are permitted within the hamlet designation. A plan of subdivision wasn't required for these two applications, as only two applications were being created. Both of the proposed lots will have frontage on County Road 45, which is a year-round county maintained road. These lots, there were no previous severances from this property as of January 1st, 1990. And the proposed lots were reviewed by County Inspection Services, who had no objection with the lots and deemed them to be appropriate for private septic services. Zoning bylaw, the lands are currently zoned development on Schedule A of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman zoning bylaw. The development zone permits existing uses. The properties will have to be the lot will have to be rezoned to the hamlet residential zone, which would permit a single detached dwelling on a lot with a minimum lot area of 0.4 hectares and 38 meters of frontage. Both of the proposed lots meet those frontage and area requirements for the hamlet residential zone. The application was circulated to a number of agencies, including Lower Trent, who had no objection. Northumberland County reviewed the application and confirmed the proposed severance conforms to the intent of the county official plan. Public Works commented that the proposed sketch submitted with the consent may have to be revised to ensure that the common lot line is centered with the required shared entrance. The county is now requiring a shared entrance for for lots that are created on a county, with frontage on a county road. So where there's a common lot line, what they do when the surveyor creates the R plan for the property, or the survey for the property, they identify parcels at the front on the lot line that would allow for reciprocal easements for one common entrance. So there's one entrance off the county road, it comes in and then it veers onto each property. That's what the county is requiring now for new lots on county road where 2 lots are being proposed. County Transportation also commented that the applicant will have to apply for a setback permit for the retained and severed parcels, 3 in total, prior to any development and or construction once the consent is finalized, and they'll be required to apply for an entrance permit. Northumberland County requested that the following conditions be applied to this application. The first county condition was that the proposed severed parcel must contain 1 shared entrance to service both lots at a location to the satisfaction of Northumberland County to limit the number of access points onto County Road 45 in accordance with entrance and setback policy TWF 3.5.1. The shared access should be aligned directly across from Bowmanton Road. And 2, the retained parcel must have a direct entrance from the existing access point onto County Road 45. The existing north-south laneway within the county's right-of-way that currently provides access to the subject property and 7999 County Road 45 must be removed at the applicant's expense. Right now, if you look at the sketch that was provided with the application, there's a laneway that comes in sort of off of the County Road 45, and it provides access to the existing church that's located on the south of the property, and it extends further north. The county is requesting that the northern portion of that lane be removed so that it doesn't extend. So the existing access to the retained lot, to the church will stay. But if the retained lot stays as a separate lot, it will need to have an entrance directly onto County Road 45 instead of onto that laneway now. It's my understanding that there had been previous discussions about perhaps joining that retained lot with the existing church property. And if that's the case, then the existing laneway from the south can be used to access the entire property as it exists at the church. But the 2 lots to the north need 1 common entrance across from Bowmanton Road. So that's what the county has requested. Alderville First Nation responded that they don't have any issues with the application. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners within 60 meters of the property on September 2nd, and a sign was posted that same day. There have been no public comments received. So application AH15 and AH16 2022 are consistent with the provincial policy statement, the township's official plan, the county official plan, and they would result in the creation of 2 vacant rural residential lots in the hamlet of Fenella. The recommendation is that the applications be approved subject to the conditions that are contained in the reports. Now, the lots would need to be rezoned to the hamlet residential zone. So that's another application that would be required.
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to speak to the applications? So Terry?
No, we don't require a separate application through that. When the surveyor creates the reference plan, they'll create those parcels, and those easements will be created on the deeds when the lawyer prepares the deeds for these severed lots. That is correct.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, council, any questions? Okay. Well, Jennifer, you want to read them separately? The recommendations, the
Certainly.
motion?
through you, Mayor Latchford. The recommendation for AH 15-2022 is that application AH 15-2022 by Doug Kelly Excavating to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new vacant that should be Hamlet residential lot in part of Lot 21, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Haldeman is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the registered survey for the severed parcel illustrate the location of a communal entrance with the lot created by application AH 16-2022 at a location to the satisfaction of Northumberland County. Further to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act, that the $10,491.46 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, that the $1,500 cash in lieu parkland fee be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, that the proposed severed parcel must contain one shared communal entrance to service both lots at a location to the satisfaction of Northumberland County to limit the number of access points onto County Road 45 in accordance with the entrance and setback policy TWF 351. The retained parcel must have direct entrance from the existing access point onto County Road 45. The existing north-south laneway within the county's right-of-way that currently provides access to the subject property and 7999 County Road 45 must be removed at the applicant's expense to the satisfaction of Northumberland County.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Phelps, second by Counselor Booth. All in favor? Carried. And she's going to tell us the same thing for AH 16.
Sorry, I have to read the decision for each application. So here's the application for the recommendation for application AH 16-2022 by Doug Kelly Excavating is to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new vacant hamlet residential lot in part of Lot 21, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Haldeman, is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the parcel be submitted to the township, that the registered survey for the severed parcel illustrate the location of a communal entrance to the lot created by application AH 15-2022 at a location to the satisfaction of Northumberland County. Further to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act, that the $10,491.46 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, that the $1,500 cash in lieu parkland fee be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, that the proposed severed parcel must contain one shared entrance to service both lots at a location to the satisfaction of Northumberland County to limit the number of access points onto County Road 45 in accordance with the entrance and setback policy TWF 351. The retained parcel must have direct entrance from the existing access point onto County Road 45. The existing north-south laneway within the county's right-of-way currently provides access to the subject property in 7999 County Road 45 must be removed at the applicant's expense to the satisfaction of Northumberland County.
Mayor Latchford, you're muted.
Sorry, We have 3 lot line additions that Jennifer will present together. And the applications are Doug Kelly.
Through you, Mayor Latchford. Doug Kelly, I believe it was 926643 Ontario Limited, care of Doug Kelly, submitted 3 lot addition applications and 1 severance application that would result in the creation of a new, it would result in the severance of a developed residential lot and the creation of a vacant retained lot also on County Road 45. The series of lot additions were required to provide a little extra depth to the property in order to ensure that the minimum lot area for a rural residential lot was maintained or available. Currently, so these applications are AH 17 2022 and application 18 2022 would add land to a property located on County Road 45. It's at 7737 County Road 45 in a rural area in the municipality. And application AH 17 would add approximately 0.105 hectares to the recipient property to add a little extra depth to the parcel. The reason for these lot additions is there are on County Road 45 in this area, there is a developed lot. There are actually 2 developed lots. The northern developed lot has a house on the northern portion of it, and the southern developed lot has a house on the southern portion of it. And so in between those 2 houses, there is a suitable area for the creation of a new lot. And in this case, it will be the retained lot from the severance application. The lot additions are required just to give sufficient land to the properties in order to create a 0.4 hectare lot for the ultimate retained lot. And just to complicate matters a little bit further, the lot line between the 2 lots there needs to be a lot addition there to add a little sliver of land to the northern lot so that the land can be in the ultimate severed parcel can be all on 1 lot. So it's a little complicated, but there is a sketch that's provided in the reports that it's sort of a composite sketch that illustrates the purpose of these applications, and that the result of all 3 lot addition applications and the severance application will be the creation of a 0.44 hectare retained lot with frontage on County Road 45. So the first application, AH 17 2022, adds 0.15 hectares to the benefiting parcel. The lands in this area, the lands are generally agricultural to the east, and the benefiting parcel is developed with a single detached dwelling. The land from which the 0.105 hectares will be taken is a 15 hectare property. It's an agricultural property it's a vacant agricultural property with frontage on both County Road, with frontage on County Road 29. It doesn't actually have frontage on County Road 45. And the southeast portion of that property is forested with mature deciduous trees, while the remainder of the property is under active agricultural cultivation. There's a steep slope which separates the cultivated lands from the forested portion of the property. Surrounding land uses include Kelly Excavating, a number of single detached dwellings along County Road 45, and there are larger agricultural parcels to the north, east, and west of the subject property. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. With this lot addition, with lot addition AH 17 and lot addition application AH 18 and AH 19, no new lots are being created. They're just lot additions to reconfigure the lots in order to provide sufficient area and depth for the ultimate creation of a vacant retained lot. Lower Trent reviewed this application and noted that there are no natural heritage, natural hazard features, or water features of provincial concern. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It's not impacted by the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan. And the county reviewed it and confirmed that it maintains the intent of the county official plan. The county recommended the creation of, recommended that an MDS, a minimum distance separation calculation, be undertaken for the lot addition applications. However, an MDS calculation isn't required for the lot addition applications because no new lot is being created. The application is consistent with the policies in the township official plan. Now, with respect to the zoning bylaw, the subject property is zoned rural on Schedule A to the township's official plan, which permits a wide range of uses, including a single detached dwelling, agricultural or farm uses, forestry uses, and the benefiting parcel is also zoned rural, which permits a single detached dwelling. Sorry. It's rural residential. Sorry, the benefiting parcel is rural residential, which permits a single detached dwelling on a 0.4 hectare severed lot. So the lot addition lands should be rezoned to be consistent with the benefiting parcel. So that sliver should be rezoned to the rural residential zone. So that's one of the conditions. Northumberland County provided comments on all of these applications at once, and one of their recommendations was that the applications be deferred pending the completion of a plan illustrating the location of the septic system on the benefiting parcel. However, Mr. Kelly has submitted that sketch, and I had only required that condition as a condition of the severance that would ultimately create the new residential lot. So I didn't include, even though the county asked for it, it didn't make sense to request that condition as on all of the lot addition applications. It only made sense to add it to the creation of the severance application. And he has subsequently provided the information. So once we get to that application, I won't be reading that condition because it has already been fulfilled. So the recommendation is that these lot addition applications be approved. So that was basically lot addition 17. Lot addition 18, AH 18, would add 0.087 hectares to the property identified as 7717 County Road 45. Again, it would take a sliver to the east side and add it to that developed property. That property is actually zoned to an exception zone. It is zoned rural exception 121, which permits all of the rural zone uses along with a small scale retail establishment and mobile canteen with a minimum lot area of 0.5 hectares and a minimum frontage of 91.44, a minimum lot frontage of 91.44 meters. The maximum floor area of the small scale retail establishment is 75 square meters. The exception zoning reflects previous uses on the property. At one time, I believe there was a chip truck or a refreshment vehicle located on the property, and the subsequent owner had applied to rezone to permit a small gift shop. There is currently an open building permit for the an active construction of a single detached dwelling on that property. So the more appropriate zone for that property would appear to be a rural residential zone. So as part of the decision for this application, it's recommended that the benefiting and severed parcels be rezoned to the rural residential zone. Northumberland County has requested road widening along the county road frontage to ensure an 18.25 meter setback from the center line of County Road 45 on both applications AH 17 and AH 18. Alderville First Nation had no comments or no issues with this. Again, Northumberland County had requested MDS, which wasn't done for the lot addition applications. So recommendation for AH 18 is that it be approved. Now, application AH 19 would take a portion of the cumulative property created with application AH 18 and add that strip to the developed property at 7737 County Road 45. It would add about 0.1 hectares to the northern property. Both of the properties are developed with single detached dwellings. The retained parcels would comply with the rural residential lots. There were no issues that came up during the agency circulation with respect to this lot addition, and the application, it's recommended that the application be approved. Now, application AH 20 is an application for a severance, and it's for the severance of a developed rural residential lot with the resulting vacant retained lot. The vacant retained lot will have an area of 0.44 hectares, and the developed severed lot would have an area of 0.4 hectares. The application is, the lands are located in the rural area of the municipality. The official plan policies for the township do allow for the creation of new lots within the rural designation. MDS calculations were prepared for the creation of the new vacant retained lot. The livestock barns were identified at 7892 County Road 45 and 7929 County Road 45. The MDS requirements were 161 meters and 199 meters respectively, and those MDS setbacks were contained entirely on the properties on which the barns were located and did not extend onto the proposed severed or retained lots. Northumberland County had recommended deferral of the application pending the completion of a septic system, of a sketch identifying the location of the septic system on the severed lot to ensure that the septic system will be contained entirely within that severed parcel. The applicant had subsequently provided that information, and as such, condition number 7 that is listed in the report isn't required. That condition was that the applicant shall submit a plan to the County of Northumberland's satisfaction that illustrates the location of the existing private septic system to ensure it will be sufficiently set back from the proposed severed lot. So that condition isn't required because that information has already been submitted to the municipality. So part of the lands that are subject to this severance application are currently zoned RU 121. And that was part of the lot to the south that has been added to the northern lot. And it is the lot that is currently zoned to permit a mobile canteen and a small retail establishment. It's recommended that property be rezoned rural residential to reflect the actual uses on the property. Yeah.
That means it's no longer commercial. No commercial bearing on it.
That if it is rezoned to rural residential, that is correct. The only commercial uses that would be permitted on the retained lot on that portion of the lot would be home occupations.
Okay, thank you.
Northumberland County has also requested road widening along County Road 45, and that has been added as a condition of consent. Public notice went out on September 2nd with all of these applications to all landowners within 60 meters, and no public comments have been received to date. So the recommendation is that the application for the severance of a developed rural residential lot be approved.
Thank you. The applicant wish to speak to this, please? No, nothing. Any questions from the public? Any from council? No? Okay. Jennifer, we'll let you read them one at a time.
The recommendation is that application AH 17 2022 by 926643 Ontario Limited to sever a parcel of land for lot addition purposes in part of lot 22, concession 9, geographic township of Haldeman. It's hereby approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Further, to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting. 3, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. 4, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. 5, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act, that the severed parcel be deeded as a lot addition to the recipient property, and that the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving the effect of to the lot addition, that the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying the lot addition lands will merge on title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act.
Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Hogg, second, Counselor Phil, all in favor? Carried. Application AH 18 2022 lot line addition.
The recommendation is that application AH 18 2022 by 926643 Ontario Limited to sever a parcel of land for lot addition purposes and part of lot 22, concession 9, geographic township of Haldeman is hereby approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Further, to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed and benefiting parcels pursuant to the Planning Act, that the severed parcel be deeded as a lot addition to the recipient property, and the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title, giving effect to the lot addition, that the applicant's lawyer submits a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Booth, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. And we'll go into AH 19 and lot line addition. You'll notice, Terry, I have your red pen.
The recommendation is that application AH 19 2022 by Roger Warnock, agent Doug Kelly, to sever a parcel of land for lot addition purposes and part of lot 22, concession 9, geographic township of Haldeman is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Further, to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act, that the severed parcel be deeded as a lot addition to the recipient property, and the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title, giving effect to the lot addition, that the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act, that the applicant shall lay out and dedicate to the County of Northumberland a strip of land ensuring 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 45 along the frontage of the severed and retained portions for road widening purposes to the satisfaction of Northumberland County.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Hogg, second by Counselor Philip, all in favor? Carried. Number 6, AH 20-2022, creation of a rural residential lot.
The recommendation is that application AH 20-2022 by Doug Kelly Excavating to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a developed rural residential lot in part of Lot 22, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Haldimand is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Further to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting. That a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. That the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. That a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act. That the applicant shall lay out and dedicate to the County of Northumberland a strip of land ensuring 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 45 along the frontage of the severed and retained portions for road widening purposes to the satisfaction of Northumberland County.
Thank you. Have a mover, please. Counselor Booth, second by Counselor Philip, all in favor? Carried. Well done. Yeah. The next consent is, the next two consents are Mike and Kim Ainsworth, AH 21-2022 and AH 22-2022. So we'll do one at a time, or they can be. Okay. Go ahead.
Applications AH 21-2022 and 22-2022 propose the creation of vacant rural residential lots from a property that's located on the east side of Shelter Valley Road, north of 401. In both cases, the proposed severed lots have a lot area of 0.4 hectares, or sorry, a lot area of 0.4 hectares, and the retained lot will have an area of 0.68 hectares. So the purpose of these two applications is for the creation of a 0.4 hectare vacant rural residential lot from an existing 1.5 hectare property located at 1841 Shelter Valley Road. The 1.5 hectare property is located in the southwest quadrant of the municipality. It's developed with a single detached dwelling and an accessory building on the southern portion of the property. The remainder of the property is heavily forested and rises quite steeply from Shelter Valley Road. And Shelter Valley Creek is located on the west side of Shelter Valley Road. Shelter Valley Golf Course is located at the southwest intersection of Telephone Road and Shelter Valley Road, approximately 130 meters from the subject property slot boundary, and lands to the immediate east are agricultural lands, which appear to be used for hay at this point in time. There's an inactive livestock barn located at 842 Telephone Road, and there is a small horse barn that's been identified on an agricultural property immediately west of the subject property. The property is located in the rural area of the municipality, and the provincial policy statement does allow for lot creation in the rural areas where it's deemed to be locally appropriate, is the words they use now, and compatible with the rural landscape in the area. Both the proposed severed and retained lots will have frontage on Shelter Valley Road, which is a year-round municipally maintained roads. They're large enough to accommodate the required private services. Comments from Northumberland County Inspection Services have indicated that they have reviewed the application and have no objection with the severance. The provincial policy statement does require compliance with minimum distance separation requirements. MDS calculations were prepared for the unoccupied livestock barn at 842 Telephone Road and the small horse barn located at 690 Telephone Road. They resulted in 187 meter and a 98 meter setbacks respectively. Both of those required MDS setbacks are contained on the lots on which the barns are located and do not extend onto the proposed severed lots. Northumberland County has adopted official plan amendment number 1, which establishes a natural heritage system for the county. OPA number 1 has not yet been approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and must be approved by MMAH before it can be incorporated into the township's official plan and the township's zoning bylaw. The subject property is identified on Schedule B2 to the Northumberland County Official Plan Amendment number 1, within identifying the lands as being within the linkage and enhancement areas, which are supportive of the features. Northumberland County commented that once approved, the county anticipates that the residential lot creation on lands contained in supporting features and areas with natural heritage area. The county anticipates that residential lot creation on lands containing supporting features and areas within the natural heritage areas will be prohibited in the future. So that means that once OPA number 1 is approved, that severances in this area would no longer be permitted. However, OPA number 1 has not yet been approved, and those policies are not yet in force and effect. In their August 26, 2022 comments, Lower Trent Conservation noted that Shelter Valley Creek flows north-south through lands on the west side of Shelter Valley Road, across the road from the subject property, and the flood hazard for Shelter Valley Creek remains on the west side of the road and does not extend onto the subject property. The LTC, the Lower Trent Conservation Regulated Areas, does extend just a little bit onto the subject property along the frontage of the northern lot, and a Lower Trent conservation permit will probably be required for a driveway in that area. They had no concerns. LTC did not recommend that an environmental impact study would be required. Also, the provincial policy statement contains policy regarding natural heritage features and requires evaluations for lands that are considered to be fish habitat, that sort of thing. However, because there is a road between the subject property and the water course, it was not recommended that any studies be required, a fish habitat study be required. The Conservation Authority did comment that they would recommend that they would encourage the landowners to maintain natural cover on the road frontage to the extent possible and restore areas where removal is required for development purposes in order to protect fish habitat. Lower Trent also further commented that due to the steep slopes on the proposed lots, they would recommend that a geotechnical engineer be consulted during the design phase of the proposed development to ensure the stability of the slope is maintained and the proposed development is designed with consideration of these slopes. Now, the property is also located within 120 meters of Shelter Valley Creek, which is under the growth plan is considered to be a key hydrologic feature. Ordinarily, a hydrologic report is required for all development within 120 meters of a key hydrologic feature. However, in cases where there is a road between the hydrologic feature and the subject properties, it has been our practice not to require a hydrologic evaluation, as they can't possibly maintain a 30-meter vegetation protection zone because the road is within that area. Northumberland County, the lands are designated rural areas, which permit the lot creation in accordance with local plans. I discussed OPA number 1, which when approved would not permit development in this area. However, it is not yet approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The subject property is designated rural in the township official plan, which does permit residential lot creation in the rural area. The lots have frontage on a municipally maintained road. MDS calculations were prepared. There have been no previous severances from the property since January 1st, 1990. And the application maintains the intent of the township's official plan. The property is already zoned rural residential, and both of the proposed severed lots and the retained lot will comply with the requirements of the rural residential zone. The agency, there was an agency circulation. The manager of public works commented that an entrance would be required at a location to be determined by the municipality. And further, that given the steep slopes on the property, a professionally designed engineered entrance and driveway will be required. And that will be required during the entrance application process. So it will be a case where the whoever's applying for the entrance permit will have to retain an engineer to prepare the entrance and driveway design. Lower Trent comments have been reviewed. They also identified comments about the requirement about the recommendation for a geotechnical engineer for the design on the subject properties, given the slope on the properties. Northumberland County reviewed the application. They indicated, again, the OPA #1 comments. They also recommended the completion of environmental impact study. However, Northumberland, Lower Trent Conservation confirmed that an EIS was not required. Alderville First Nation commented that they have no issue with this application or these applications. Notice of the application was sent out to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on September 2nd, and a sign was posted that same day. One inquiry was received requesting additional details on the application. They just wanted clarification as to where the severed lots were, and there were no further comments received. So the recommendation is the application be approved. It's consistent with the county official plan, the township official plan, the provincial policy statement, and the growth plan. MDS calculations were prepared for the off-site livestock barns, and the proposed severed lots are located outside of the required MDS setbacks.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the applicant? Mike? No? Okay. Any from the public? Council? Any questions? Okay. Then we'll entertain a motion for AH 21, 2022. Jennifer will read that.
Recommendation for AH 2021-2022 by Mike and Kim Ainsworth to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new vacant rural residential lot and part of Lot 14, Concession 2, Geographic Township of Haldeman is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Further, to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, the tax account for the severed parcel be paid up to date, that the $10,491.46 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Almlook-Haldeman, that the $1,500 cash in lieu of parkland fee be paid to the Township of Almlook-Haldeman.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Booth, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. And now application AH 22, 2022.
The recommendation is that application AH 22-2022 by Mike and Kim Ainsworth to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new vacant rural residential lot and part of Lot 14, Concession 2, Geographic Township of Haldeman is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that further to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting, that a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that the $10,491.46 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the township of Alma Calderman, that the $1,500 cash in lieu of parkland fee be paid to the township of Alma Calderman.
Thank you. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Phillips, second. Counselor Hawk, all in favor? Carried. We have one application left for creation of a rural residential lot, AH 23, 2022. Whenever you're ready.
The purpose of application AH 23, 2022 is to sever a 0.82 hectare parcel for the creation of a vacant rural residential lot from a 2.44 hectare vacant rural property. Sorry, that's incorrect. It should be a 12.44 hectare vacant rural property. The application was submitted concurrently with application Z13, 2022, which would rezone the proposed severed lot to the rural residential zone. The property is located on north and west of Packer Road in the northwest section of the geographic township of Calderman. The property's been partially cleared and the cleared portion is under agricultural cultivation. The northwest corner of the property is heavily forested and there's a water course that flows through the forested area terminating in the south central portion of the property. There are large tracts of agricultural land in this general area. An unoccupied livestock barn is located at 527 Packer Road. A 1.6 hectare severed lot was severed off the west side of this property in 1991, application B26, 1991. And there were a series of 2 hectare rural residential lots that were created immediately south of the subject property fronting on Packer Road. Sorry, it's not immediately south, it was further down on Packer Road, and those lots were previously created. The subject properties designated rural, environmental protection, aggregate resource, and Oak Ridges Marine Corps in the township's official plan. The northwest corner of the subject property where the proposed severed lot, the northwest corner is designated Oak Ridges Marine, while the central forested portion of the property is designated environmental protection. A very small area, approximately 0.4 hectares, south of the forest area on the west side of the property is designated aggregate resource. It's unlikely that the area identified as aggregate resource is large enough for aggregate extraction. And the proposed severed lot is located in the northeast corner of the subject property, and it is designated rural. So the lands that are actually subject to this application are located in the rural area. They're not designated environmental protection, nor are they located on the Oak Ridges Moraine. The provincial policy statement does allow for rural lot creation and where it is locally appropriate. And the PPS further states that development must be compatible with the rural landscape and be able to be serviced by available services. The proposed severed and retained lots have frontage on Packer Road, a municipally maintained road. The proposed severed lot is large enough to accommodate the required private services. Northumberland County Inspection Services have reviewed the application and indicate that they have no objection. An MDS calculation was prepared for the barn located at 527 Packer Road, resulting in a 239 meter setback. The proposed severed lot is located 340 meters from the livestock barn outside of the required MDS setback. Mapping provided by Lower Trent Conservation Authority illustrates a Rice Lake tributary traversing the subject property from the northwest corner, and it terminates in the south central portion of the property, north of Packer Road. The provincial policy statement does require that development be located outside of flooding hazard areas. The Conservation Authority has confirmed that the proposed severed lot is outside of the floodplain for that area. There's also an area along that water course is regulated by Lower Trent, and any development within that regulated area would require a permit from LTC. The proposed severed lot is located outside of the LTC regulated area. There's an off-site water course located northeast of the subject property, and the 120-meter influence area does extend onto the subject property. However, Lower Trent commented, the water course is on a privately owned property and access to said property for the purposes of conducting an environmental impact study may not be possible. It is therefore our opinion that an environmental impact study would not be warranted at this time. Under the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the hydrologic evaluations are required for land within 120 meters of a key hydrologic feature. The proposed severed lot is located more than 120 meters from the on-site water course and is separated from the off-site water course by a municipal road. A hydrologic evaluation is not required. There are no natural heritage features or hazards on the proposed severed lot, and LTC has indicated that they have no objections. A portion of the property is located on the Oak Ridges Moraine. However, that area subject to this application is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, and as such, the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan doesn't apply to this application. The severed lot is a designated rural area in the county official plan, and the county official plan does allow for rural lot creation in accordance with local plans. As I mentioned earlier, the property has 3 different designations on it. The area of the property to which this application is subject is actually rural. Rural lot creation, residential lot creation is permitted. An MDS calculation was prepared. The lot has frontage on a municipally maintained road, and the lot is appropriately sized. The proposed severance complies with the policies of the township official plan. The property is zoned rural, Oak Ridges Marine Core, and environmentally sensitive areas. The proposed severed lot is actually zoned rural and will need to be rezoned to the rural residential zone, which will permit a single detached dwelling on a lot with a minimum lot area of 0.4 hectares. The retained 11.61 hectare lot will comply with the rural zone provisions. The application has, the applicant has actually applied for a zoning bylaw amendment concurrently with this severance application. Public Works has confirmed that an entrance for the proposed severed lot can be granted at a location to be determined by the Public Works. Lower Trent has no objection. Northumberland County reviewed the application and has no objection. Alderville First Nation commented that they have no issues with granting this severance. Notice of the application was circulated to all landowners within 60 meters on September 2nd, and a sign was posted that same day. No public comments have been received. The proposed severed lot is located in a rural part of the municipality outside of the Oak Ridges Moraine on a year-round municipal maintained road. There are no natural heritage features or hazard features on the proposed severed lot, and both the severed and retained lots are appropriately sized rural residential and rural parcels compatible with surrounding land uses. It's recommended that the application be approved.
No one's here to address this today. Oh, Bernie's online. Bernie, do you have anything you wish to speak to on this application?
No, thank you.
Any comments from the public? Council? Okay, I'll call for the motion, the recommendation, and Jennifer and
The recommendation is that application AH 23-2022 by Bernard Reinhardt to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a new vacant rural residential lot in part of Lot 26, Kinchester 9, Geographic Township of Haldeman is hereby approved, subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, Further to the printed plan of survey, a closed polygon vector file of the part boundaries shown on the reference plan is to be provided in spatially referenced Autodesk DWG Windows readable format to the satisfaction of the township. It is recommended that the applicant's Ontario land surveyor consult with the County of Northumberland GIS section to confirm acceptable standards and formatting. 3, that the draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act, that the $10,491.46 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, that the $1,500 cash in lieu of parkland fee be paid to the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman.
Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Phillips, second by Counselor Booth. All in favor? Carried. Our next item is item 8, motion to reconvene to the municipal planning meeting. Be it resolved that the council of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman, being a land division committee, committee of adjustment, reconvene to the municipal planning meeting at 10:51 a.m. I have a mover. Counselor Hogg, second. Counselor Booth, all in favor? Carried. Item 9 is minor variances. We have one minor variance. Kevin Corbett and Ksenia Yusenko, MV 03 2022 7714, Sheerpoint Road, Lot 8, Concession 4, Plan 68, Lot 8, Geographic Alnwick.
Through you, Mayor Latchford, the purpose of this application is to permit a reduced interior side yard setback for the southern yard of this property to allow for the creation or for the development of the site with a new seasonal dwelling and an attached garage. So there was an existing dwelling on this property. This property has frontage on both Rice Lake and Sheerpoint Road. It's a shoreline property that was previously, there was a seasonal dwelling on the property. That cottage has been demolished, and the applicants are proposing to construct a new dwelling with an attached garage. The variance is required to allow for the construction of an attached garage, which will be located 1.6 meters from the southern property line. There were 3 sketches provided with the application. They've been attached to the report. The first sketch illustrating the location of the original cottage. The second one illustrates the location of the proposed new seasonal dwelling with an attached garage. And the third illustrates the location of the new dwelling and the proposed septic system. The 0.16 hectare subject property is located on the south shore of Rice Lake and on the west side of Sheerpoint Road. There's a cedar hedge that runs along the frontage of the property off of providing sort of privacy from Sheerpoint Road, which at this point in time is a seasonal road. Surrounding land uses are predominantly seasonal dwellings with frontage on both Sheerpoint Road and Rice Lake. The Sheerpoint subdivision is located immediately east of the subject property. Phase 1 of the development has been built out, and the developer is currently undertaking work for final approval of Phase 2, which will involve the reconstruction of Sheerpoint Road north of Parkview Road, so Parkview Drive. So once that work has been done, this portion of Sheerpoint Road will actually become a year-round municipally maintained road once assumed by the municipality. So the purpose of the application is to allow for a reduced interior side yard. Currently, the dwelling will meet the side yard requirements, but the interior side yard requirements are not met by the proposed attached garage. The requirement in the zoning bylaw is for a 6-meter interior side yard, and 2 different dimensions. 1.8, it looks like they've asked for a 1.8 meter setback. I just have to do a double check here. Yes, 1.8 meter setback from the southerly lot line. I apologize. I think I said 1.6 meters earlier. So the zoning bylaw requires 6 meters and they're asking for 1.8. Currently, They could construct a seasonal dwelling on this property with a detached garage with a 1.2 meter setback, but because the garage is attached to the dwelling, they're required to meet the setbacks for the dwelling, which is 6 meters. So when reviewing minor variance applications, there's 4 tests for a minor variance application. Is it minor? Is the variance minor? Is it desirable and appropriate? Does it maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? And does it maintain the intent and general intent and purpose of the official plan policies? So in reviewing this application, it has been determined that it is appropriate for the development of the site. The seasonal dwelling and the attached garage, they're permitted in the limited service residential and result in a total lot coverage of 11%. Maximum lot coverage for this zone is 20%. So it's the lot is not being overdeveloped. There are the surrounding land uses, the lot to the immediate south, which will be most impacted by this, is the dwelling on that property is located further to the south of that property, so there will be no loss of privacy with that property. Northumberland County recommended that a decision on this application be deferred until the applicant has provided a septic design prepared by a qualified sewage designer. There was an existing seasonal dwelling on the property, and reconstruction of that cottage is permitted under the existing zoning. The purpose of the zoning variance is to allow for an attached garage with a reduced interior side yard. The proposed new dwelling will require a septic permit whether or not this variance is required. So I didn't require or defer a decision on this pending that, because if they can't get septic approval, they won't be able to build their garage where they want to. If that's the space that they have to put their septic system, then they won't be able to build the garage there. It really has no impact on this application for a minor variance. So determined that the variance is minor as the total lot coverage will remain below that permitted in the limited service residential zone. The variance is desirable and appropriate. Seasonal residential development is permitted in the area and the use is consistent with surrounding uses. The general intent of the township's official plan has been maintained. Shoreline uses are permitted, cottage uses are permitted, it's consistent. The general intent of the township zoning on the Cullinan zoning bylaw is maintained. So the recommendation is that the variance be approved. Oh, I didn't do public circulation. Notice of this application was circulated to all registered landowners within 60 meters of the property on September 2nd, and no public comments have been received.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council, or comments? Councillor Booth?
Just a quick question, your worship, to Jennifer. The proposed septic, is that going to be in the same, where's the septic now?
The existing dwelling has been demolished. They'll have to install a new septic. With old cottage properties, the septic system may or may not have been a septic system. So there may have been a holding tank. The applicants actually here, there's on cottage properties that are older, sometimes the septic systems are not what we think they should have been.
I can
Or
speak to that.
what they would have been in today's.
I believe the applicant is here and he's willing to address that.
Okay. Are you Mr. Corbett? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. So
Thank you.
regardless of whatever you do, you have to put one in.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? No? Okay. Want to read that then, the recommendation?
The recommendation is that application MV03-2022 by Kevin Corbett and Kenzia Yusenko for a property legally described as 7714 Sheer Point Road located in part of Lot 8, Concession 4, Plan 68, Lot 8, Geographic Alnwick is hereby approved to permit a reduced interior side yard setback for the southern side yard of 1.8 meters instead of the normally required 6 meters be approved.
Thank you. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Booth, second. Counselor Hogg. All in favor? Carried. Item 10, public meeting for zoning applications. The first one is Dominic Di Benedetto, Z11, 2022, bylaw 100, 2022, concession 2, part of lot 10 and 11, 39R 7249, parts 2, 3, and 6, geographic Haldeman.
The purpose of this application is to rezone a parcel of land in part of lots 10 and 11, concession 2, parts 2, 3, and 6 of 39R 7246, geographic township of Alnwick Haldeman. And the purpose is to rezone those lands to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling within the required setback from a licensed aggregate operation. As Mr. Di Benedetto previously attended council with respect to this issue, this lot was created in 1994. It was severed from a larger property. Property is known as 775 Vernonville Road, located south and east of the subject property. At that time, a zoning bylaw amendment was undertaken to rezone the lands to permit, which exempted that lot, the severed lot, from the requirement to comply with the setback requirements from a licensed aggregate operation. However, when the township adopted a new comprehensive zoning bylaw, 100-2010 for the amalgamated municipality, that exemption or exception zone was omitted. It wasn't carried over into the new zoning bylaw, and it was lost. As subsequently, when we adopted bylaw 19-2019, it was similarly not carried over because it carried over the zoning from the 2010 bylaw. So right now, that a dwelling cannot be constructed on that property because the entire property is within the required setback from the aggregate operation located on the west side of Vernonville Road. Mr. Di Benedetto gave a summary to council of his concerns regarding developing the lot at 783 Vernonville Road at a previous council meeting. It was July 21st, 2022. I explained that the setback had been the exception had been provided in 1994. However, it wasn't carried over. And council advised Mr. Di Benedetto that he could apply for a zoning bylaw amendment. And the total cost would be $2,720. The township fees were $1,500, and the township agreed to waive the township fees for that. So the subject property is located on the east side of Vernonville Road, and on the west side of Vernonville Road is a licensed aggregate operation, M&R license 3215, and it applies to 68.85 hectares of land that has been licensed for aggregate extraction. The provincial policy statement, the Northumberland County official plan, and the township official plan all have policies that require the protection of licensed aggregate operations from incompatible sensitive land uses. The zoning bylaw, the property is currently zoned rural. It's it's considered a legal undersized lot because it has a minimum lot area of 0.418 hectares. Section 4.34 of the township zoning bylaw contains special separation distances between pits and quarries and sensitive land uses and requires 150 meter setback between the boundary of an extractive industrial zone of a pit operating above the groundwater table and a residential use is considered a sensitive land use. Subject property is located entirely within that 150 meter setback. If council wants to permit development on this lot, the land would have to be rezoned to a rural exception zone, which would include the following provision, notwithstanding section 4.3.4 to the contrary, on land zoned rural exception 64, a single detached dwelling can be constructed in accordance with the rural residential zone provisions. All other provisions of the bylaw shall apply. The application underwent an agency circulation. Alderville First Nation commented that they had no concerns. There's an existing entrance on the property which provides access to a detached garage. The manager of public works indicated there's sufficient visibility for an entrance. Lower Trent Conservation commented that there are no LTC regulated lands, heritage features, hazards, or watercourses on the proposed severed lot. They further commented that a hydrologic evaluation was not required for an off-site watercourse. Northumberland County reviewed the application and recommended that the application be denied. Both county and applicable provincial land use policies discourage new sensitive land uses that are in proximity to and are incompatible with existing less sensitive land uses, mineral aggregates, and industrial. Northumberland further commented that if the township decides to consider this application, the county recommends that the application be deferred pending the completion of a land use compatibility assessment prepared by a qualified professional. Northumberland further commented if the study's results determine that future dwelling can be appropriately mitigated and will not adversely impact the current and/or long-term use of the mineral aggregate operation to the satisfaction of the township of Walnut Calderman and Northumberland County, then the proposed development may be considered. Public circulation. Notice of this application was circulated to all landowners with all registered landowners within 120 meters of the subject property, and a sign was posted. No comments have been received. So there was a previous special exception zoning on the subject property, which, had it been carried over into the current planning zoning bylaw, would have allowed for the construction of a single detached dwelling on the property. That zoning was not carried forward, and as such, development is not permitted. Current policies, provincial policies, township policies, and county policies do not allow for sensitive land uses within 150 meters of a licensed aggregate operation. So in my report, the action I've included an action. It's not a recommendation because it doesn't comply with provincial policy and everything else. But the action would be that if council wants to consider rezoning the property to allow for the construction of a single detached dwelling, it would be more appropriate. It would be appropriately rezoned to the rural residential exception 64 zone.
Which would allow for the building of a single family dwelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this one somehow got missed along the way. Any comments on this? Councillor Bruce?
Through your worship to the planner, the Northumberland County talks about a completion of a land use compatibility assessment. Who pays for that? The landowner?
The applicant would be required to pay for that.
Yes. Councillor Philip?
I know that we've done a lot of work on this application, and I would say from the outset that I support it. But is there any chance that this land use assessment that the county has recommended could impact negatively on this application through the mayor to the planner?
Yes. If you defer the application and require the completion of that land use compatibility assessment, it is possible that it could come back and say that they wouldn't recommend approval of it. It is possible.
Okay, but if we approve it today, then that doesn't apply, is that?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And
Thank
if,
If you-
depending on how your recommendation came back, either way, you could still approve it.
Okay, good. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Any further comments? Yes? Kathy Rich, you can answer that, Jennifer.
Through you, Mayor Latchford, the land was designated prior to, the aggregate operation was licensed prior to 1994. And that's why they had the exception when they redid the zoning in 1994. They specifically included a special zone which would allow a house on that property, notwithstanding the provisions that they had in the bylaw. It was a different bylaw at that time, but there was still a setback from an aggregate operation, and the aggregate operation did exist when they created the lot in 1994.
And there's housing all around it, and it's got a garage with hydro works. So can I call for the motion, council? Yeah, unless there's further comment? Seeing none? Yeah, well, I'm just asking for the,
I'll make a motion that we.
Okay.
Just come to it and explain to us the situation. Looks like we dropped the ball back in 1994. So, and I don't think it's fair that we're gonna ask him to do a land use compatibility assessment and it could come back and then negatively affect it. Say, I would make a motion that
the rezoning.
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried. Our next item is Matt Murray and Linda Moore, Z12, 2022, bylaw number 101, 2022, concession 3, part of lot 5, geographic Alnwick. And this one is result of a previous severance.
Through you, Mayor Latchford, application Z12 2022 is required as a condition of consent application AH03 2022, which resulted in the creation of a 0.4 hectare rural residential lot on the west side of Curtis Point Road. The severance was approved by the Land Division Committee. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the county official plan and the township official plan. There are no natural heritage features or natural hazards on the proposed lot subject to this application. The proposal is that the land be rezoned rural residential to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling on a 0.4 hectare lot. The rural residential lot, the conditionally approved rural residential lot, complies with the requirements of the rural residential zone. And with the approval of this recommended zoning bylaw amendment, both the severed and retained lots will comply with the requirements of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman zoning bylaw. There were no issues identified during the agency circulation, and public circulation was given on September 2nd to all landowners within 120 meters, and no public comments have been received to date. So the recommendation is that the application be approved.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone? No? Call for the motion that this be approved. Councillor Phillip, second. Councillor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Zoning application Z13, 2022, bylaw number 102, 2022, concession 9, part of lot 26, geographic Haldeman, Bernie Reinhardt's, and we just have dealt with the severance today. So we'll go through that one.
Through your Mayor Latchford. This is a zoning bylaw amendment that was submitted concurrently with the Reinhardt consent application. It would see the conditionally approved severed lot be rezoned to the rural residential zone to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling. The proposed retained and severed lots with this rezoning bylaw amendment, both the proposed severed and or the conditionally approved severed and retained lots would comply with the provisions of the rural residential lot for the severed lot and the rural zone for the retained lot. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the county official plan, the township official plan. The lands subject to this application are not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine. No issues were raised during the agency circulation. Public circulation, I received no comments. It was circulated to all landowners within 120 meters. So the recommendation is that the application be approved.
Thank you. Any further questions on this one? Could I have a motion to approve? Counselor Phillips, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Our last minor variance is Grafton Heights subdivision, Z14, 2022. Bylaw number 109-2022, concession 1, part of lot 23, parts 1, 2, 4, and 5, plan 39R-229, part of park lots 2 and 3, registered plan 7, Village of Grafton, geographic Haldeman.
There's a description for you. This is an application to rezone a parcel of land that is known of as the Grafton Heights subdivision application. Draft plan approval was granted by Northumberland County on April 18th, 2019 for a 40-lot subdivision in the settlement area of Grafton. Copies of the draft plan approval and the draft plan of condominium were attached. This subdivision, excuse me, I've been doing a lot of talking today. The subdivision contains both a plan of subdivision as well as a plan of condominium. Given the entrance and the proximity of the entrance to the Highway 401, MTO required a condominium road in this subdivision. So there's both an approval for a draft plan of condominium and a draft plan of subdivision. The subdivision creates the individual lots. The draft plan of condominium will be the road lands. Now, when the application for subdivision was originally submitted in, I forget, I think it's 2014, they also submitted an application, a zoning bylaw amendment application. That zoning bylaw amendment application didn't go anywhere. There wasn't the public meeting that they had was just for the subdivision. It wasn't for the zoning bylaw amendment. The property is in the process of being sold, and the new developers are moving ahead with final approval. And they've submitted detailed engineering drawings. They are currently being reviewed, and they're at a point where the land should be rezoned to the Hamlet residential zone to permit the eventual construction on the individual lots. The property will be serviced by municipal water and private individual septic systems. Hydrogeology study was prepared for the subdivision application. The property is currently zoned development in the township's official plan amendment, or township's zoning bylaw, and the applicants requested that it be rezoned to a Hamlet residential exception zone and an open space zone. The minimum lot size in the Hamlet residential zone for lots with municipal water and private septic services is 0.4 hectares. and the minimum lot frontage requirement is 30 meters. There are several lots within the proposed subdivision which don't meet the minimum lot area requirement. The smallest lot is 0.2294 hectares or 2,294 square meters. Those lot areas, the hydrogeology study that was prepared in support of the draft plan of subdivision supported these lot areas. So despite the fact that they're lower than what is normally required, the science behind the subdivision does support those the reduced lot sizes. So it's recommended that the subject property be rezoned to the Hamlet Residential Exception Number 32 zone, which would recognize a minimum lot area of 2,200 square meters. And while the application requested that the stormwater management block be rezoned open space, in reviewing the zoning bylaw that we have before us, 19-2010, the more appropriate zone would be the environmental protection zone, which permits structures required for flood, erosion, and siltation works. So it's recommended that the stormwater block be rezoned EP and that the subdivision lands, the lands on which the lots are going to be created, would be rezoned Hamlet Residential Exception Number 32. This is also consistent with, there is an off-site wetland located in the southwest corner of the property, and the LTC regulated area impinges or extends onto the subject property. So that LTC regulated area would be contained within the environmental protection, the proposed environmental protection zoning area. Financial impacts, also all costs associated with construction of the proposed subdivision will be at the expense of the developer. Peer reviews and technical reviews of the documents are at the cost of the developer. The proposed internal road and stormwater management facility will be both owned by the condominium corporation. Maintenance and upkeep will be the responsibility of the condominium corporation. Notice of the application was circulated to all landowners within the property within 120 meters, and I haven't received any public comments. So the application has draft plan approval. The owners are moving toward the to-be owners are moving towards final approval, and a first engineering submission has been received by Northumberland County and is currently being reviewed. The application maintains the intent of the township's official plan and is consistent with the provincial policy statement. So it's recommended that the application be approved.
Thank you. Question?
Thank you. Through the chair, through the mayor, I would actually confer or defer to the chair of the water board on this one, but something that's come up recently in water board meetings has been the appropriation of costing for the implementation of water hookup of the township's water program. And I just wonder if that has been considered, and I should defer to my fellow counselor just to get his position on this.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Yeah, just a question. It says, while the official plan policy requires subdivision applications to be accompanied by an engineering report demonstrating an available and adequate supply of potable water. So I guess the concern came up yesterday at the water meeting was with possible development coming to the hamlet. How are all of these developments understanding that they are going to have adequate supply of water? And they talked about there should be a water modeling study done. Is that going to be considered for this one, Jennifer, or how?
Final approval. So we've got two sort of parallel processes going on right now. This is the zoning bylaw amendment that would allow for the eventual development of the property. And then they've got the final approval process. So they're going through and they're satisfying their conditions of draft plan approval. If the property is rezoned to Hamlet Residential, as it stands right now, the risk to the municipality is that one single detached dwelling can be built on it because the individual lots don't exist until the subdivision agreement has been approved, the M plan has been registered, and everything that goes through. So as a condition, so you could approve the zoning bylaw amendment, adopt the zoning bylaw amendment, the property is zoned hamlet residential. At the same time, there's the technical process, which is the final approval process where they have to submit all of their technical information confirming their stormwater designs, their servicing, and water has to be addressed during that stage. If it is not confirmed that there is, if it isn't confirmed that there's enough water, then they don't get final approval. So in terms of who pays for what, that is something I had thought that the water board was undertaking water modeling at this point, but I guess that they haven't done the water modeling. So I'll have to discuss that with the CAO and the water board, and we'll figure out how the water modeling gets undertaken, who pays for what. But that is something that we will have to look at. But that can be looked at during the final approval process and engineering process for the subdivision.
Okay, that's good. That answers the concern that myself and Mike had. Thank you.
Mike, I'm sure that we addressed maybe not the final part of the water supply, but I'm sure that was talked about and it was a concern at the time, and that Grafton Water would supply the water. And all these final things would have to be done to prove completion. So we've known that for a while. I'm echoing. Okay, council. Yes. Oh, sorry. Anything you would like to say, Mr. LaRock?
Good morning, Your Worship. My name is Sean Leger. I'm a senior planner with RFA Planning Consultants. I'm here representing Ruth Ferguson Althouse, the firm principal, who is the project planner for this file. She's unable to attend this morning. I apologize for my voice. I have had terrible allergies these past few weeks, so I just want to disclose that. I have a very, very brief presentation and very brief words just to reintroduce the project quickly for you and to provide some visuals to Jennifer's synopsis. So here's the subject property. I'm sure you've seen this before, but it's just south of the Highway 401 interchange, 18.6 hectare site, just south of the 401 interchange. Most of the surrounding lands are vacant development land. We have some general industrial to the south, the closed landfill further to the west, some hamlet residential and hamlet commercial to the southeast, along with the South St. Mary's Cemetery. I'll just echo a few key highlights to my colleague's presentation just a moment ago. So the draft plan subdivision was approved in April 2019 for 40 single detached homes. Minimum lot frontages are 30 meters. We have minimum lot size of 0.23 hectares, which has just been slightly adjusted due to detailed design. And we have a condominium block and for roadway and stormwater management. Point of access is through Lyle Street to County Road 23. This next slide is the approved 2019 Common Elements Condominium Roadway and Stormwater Management Block. Its internal roadway will be privately owned and maintained by the condominium corporation. The minimum width is 20 meters. The larger width, which you see on the top right of the image, is to deal with the entrance and the road cut profile. The entrance has been approved by the Ministry of Transportation and the county. And the lots in the subdivision will be parcels of tied land tied to the roadway. So I'm just going to take a zoom out for just a brief moment to just confirm all the work initiated, especially further to the question just a moment ago and the approvals process timeline. So the original draft plan of subdivision was submitted to the Pine Ridge Municipal Planning Authority in June 2014, file number D12-14002. A series of technical studies were prepared at that time and were subsequently updated in 2017. I won't review these in detail, but just specifically regarding the water, feasibility of the water would have been reviewed at the time and was confirmed. And further to Jennifer's, my colleague's presentation, there's just simply going through detailed design at this time to just fine tune the specifics. The rezoning application was also filed in June of 2014, Z-14-2022 is the file number. Just going next down on the timeline, we made a second submission and filed a common elements condominium application at that time in December of 2017 to the County of Northumberland, file number D05-AH1801. The public meeting was held for the plans of subdivision and common elements condominium was in March of 2018. And just as was confirmed a moment ago, in April 2019, the draft plan of subdivision and common elements condominium was approved. And so again, we are here to hear this application for rezoning as a condition of that approval. Very, very briefly, the County of Northumberland official plan designates the site rural settlement area. The Township of official plan designates the site hamlet. And just to reaffirm that the development proposal conforms to the land use policy, these land use policy designations, that is consistent with the hamlet residential policies with a density of 2.2 hectares. Sorry, dwelling units per hectare. Again, just providing some visuals. On the right is Schedule A to the bylaw. We are here for presentation and decision this morning, number 109-2022. On the left, I just wish to go back in time a little bit. So obviously there has been a couple of changes to the plan over the course of those numbers of years, but it also helps to, it's a bit easier to read. So basically the top 2/3 will be the hamlet residential. The bottom 2/3 will be the environmental protection zone, as Jennifer described earlier. We've done a zoning analysis and the only special provision is for the minimum lot size. The requested zoning conforms or meets or exceeds all other hamlet residential provisions. Again, there's a small update to that. There's a 6 square meter difference. There's a basically between the original application and now, as Jennifer was describing earlier, it's currently going through detailed design. And there's a very minor adjustment of 6 square meters made to one of the smallest lots. And that has been reflected in the updated bylaw for decision today for the 2,200 square meter lot minimum. So I just wish to highlight that. So I apologize for the discrepancy on the slide. Pardon, your worship?
Just the small lot, one small lot, or
Yes.
how many smaller lots are we looking at?
The smallest lot is
Is,
2,294 or 93 square meters.
yes,
And that would be just the one lot. And so all the other lots would be bigger than that.
okay,
Yeah, we just, so if when we do zoning amendments of this nature, we just hone in on what the smallest is.
okay,
And so again, the feasibility has already been determined. There's just a very minor 6 square meter variation to the original application.
okay, just wanted that made clear. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And just by way of update, the developer is just working on clearing the conditions. I appreciate there's been an extension recently that was granted for an additional 2 years. Again, they've already submitted detailed design and it's currently under review. And the developer is looking to move forward with the project as soon as possible. And they wish to relay that permits have already been submitted to the Ministry of Transportation and Lower Trent Conservation. So those have already gone in. And again, construction is anticipated to be as soon as possible, subsequent to all the final approvals. And at the moment, it's earmarked for a spring 2023 start. Thank you, and I'm here to assist in answering any questions council may have.
Any questions from council? Councillor Philip?
Yes, can you identify the name of the developing company, please?
The name of the developer is Minstrel. And so there's a joint venture between that developer and Starwood Homes. Starwood Homes will actually be building the homes, and Minstrel will be actually be putting in the roadway, utilities, and so on and so forth to complete the final approvals and get the lots registered.
And how do you spell minstrel?
Mistral.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Booth?
Just clarification, either you can answer it or maybe Jennifer can. The south part there that is you're recommending, Jennifer, that be changed to environmental, the stormwater pond. Who owns that then when this development is done? Who maintains that? Is it the township that's going to maintain that, or this is a condominium thing? Do they look after that stormwater pond?
With this, through you, Mayor Latchford, with this application, this would be this is a common element, which means it's part of the condominium corporation. So the condominium corporation will be responsible for it.
Okay.
Typically with subdivisions in our municipality, the municipality would be responsible, but in this case, it's a common element.
And that'll be the same with the roads and that, then that it's like a private road, then we won't be plowing it or salting and sanding. That'll be the condominium that looks after that, right?
That's correct. Though they are to be designed to a municipal standard so that the garbage trucks and that sort of thing can go in.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? No? I'm happy to see the progress on this. It's something we've been working on since shortly after I got here, and to see it progress now and get to this stage. Good. I'm happy.
Yes.
The recommendation is that application Z14 2022 to amend the zoning on a parcel of land owned by 237653 Ontario Inc., legally described as parts 1, 2, 4, and 5, Plan 39R-228, part of park lots 2 and 3, registered plan number 7, Village of Grafton, from Development D to Hamlet Residential, exception number 32, HR-32 Zone and Environmental Protection, EP, in the Township of Almac, Haldeman, zoning bylaw 19/2019, as amended, be approved. Now the mover, please. Councillor Philip, second. Councillor Booth. All in favor? Carried. So we'll see dirt moving in the spring.
That's the idea.
Good. Get my agenda back in order here. Item 11 is communications, and we have a piece of correspondence from Lower Trent Conservation. Be it resolved that the correspondence received from Lower Trent Conservation, Rhonda Bateman, Chief Administrative Officer, dated September 9th, 2022, be received and filed. Could I have a mover, please? Anybody want to move that? Councillor Booth, second. Councillor Hogg. Any comments or questions or anything? All in favor? It's their fee study. Carried. Item 12 is administration. This is the new rental agreement for Canada Post outlet in Roseneath. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman that the acting clerk's report dated September 22nd, 2022 regarding the rental agreement for a Canada Post outlet at the Alnwick Civic Center in Roseneath be received, and further that council pass a bylaw to authorize the mayor and acting clerk to enter into agreement with Sean, is that how you pronounce that? Sheehan LaRock for renting space at the Alnwick Civic Center for a Canada Post outlet. I guess I shouldn't have called you Mr. LaRock. That's where I got it. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Phillips, second. Counselor Hogg. Any questions or comments on this one? Counselor Booth?
Through you, your worship, to the acting clerk. I notice in the contract, it talks about number 7, utilities. The tenant shall pay for the cost of telephone service, internet service if required, including the connection costs and disconnect charge. So that's going to be different than, Pat, than the current person that's in there now. I remember maybe a year or two ago that we agreed, was it Fran?
Yeah.
Fern, that the town picked up the cost of the telephone and the internet, because currently the phone that's in there right now, that's in that office and in the kitchen, I believe in the back, is paid by the town.
Yes, so that was in Fern's contract, but Aaron did make me aware that it was the municipality that had paid those costs. So I'm putting it forward. If council wants me to remove that because it is, then I can do that. I just put it in there because it had been in a previous agreement, and I didn't know if, because we're having a new person coming in, if you wanted that to take effect or not. So.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to see this, which means that the new person that goes in there, they're going to pay for their internet and they're going to pay for their phone. So the town will have to, I don't know whether or not our phone would still be in the kitchen or whatever, but they'll have to pay for their own phone, and that's in the office. And the internet, I believe they're probably getting off of Wi-Fi, so they'll have to get their own.
Well, they'll use cell phones now. They won't need a landline, I wouldn't think. Or do they have to have a landline? And a post, who knows?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Okay, no, I'm happy to see that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I have to just ask council. Mr. Farrell has his hand up. Does council wish to hear from him? I need a motion then to, just a minute, I need a motion. I need a motion to be able to let Mr. Farrell come to the floor. Can I have him over, please? Counselor Booth, second by Counselor Philip, all in favor? Carried. Mr. Farrell?
Annual.
First thing, I'd like to know why the rent there is so cheap. If you look back when they took Diane out of that office, the price that they said that office cost them was ridiculous. That's why they took her out of there. But there's no mention of who pays the heat, the hydro for that place too.
Okay.
The price they're charging them, I would love to pay. That's been that way since I was on the Alnwick Haldeman committee.
Yes, it has. Well, no, it increased,
That place should be at least 500 or 600.
2018, it increased and it increased again, I think. When Fern renewed. Went up 5%.
Maybe in 2019.
It's increased once. She came and we increased once, and we were going to increase again, but I guess with this
Annually.
new person,
Yeah.
they've settled for this one, and then I guess the next council next time we'll have to look at increasing it.
You're not even breaking even on it at that price.
No, we're not. It is a service to the community, and
They don't tell you that when they charge you for your stamps and your mailing.
no, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is an annual term, council. Any further comments or questions from council? No? So I have a mover and a seconder, right? Yeah, all in favor? Carried. Item 13 is our bylaws. The first one being bylaw number 100, 2022. And this is to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw 19, 2019. Be it resolved that bylaw number 100-2022 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 19, 2019 as amended of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman for Dominic Di Benedetto, concession 2, part of lot 10 and 11, 39R 7249, parts 2, 3, and 6, geographic Haldeman, be read and deemed to be passed this 21st day of September 2022. Have a mover? Counselor Phillips, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 101, and this one is for rezoning Matt Murphy and Linda Moore. Be it resolved that bylaw number 101-2022 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 19-2019 as amended of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman for Matt Murphy and Linda Amore. Concession 3, part of lot 5, geographic Alnwick, be read and deemed to be passed this 22nd day of September 2022. Mover? Counselor Hogg, second. Counselor Booth, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 102-2022. This one is for the severance we did today, so it's rezoning for Bernie Reinhardt. Be it resolved that bylaw number 102-2022 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 19-2019 as amended of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman for Bernard Reinhardt, concession 9, part of lot 26, geographic Haldeman, be read and deemed to be passed this 22nd day of September 2022. Mover, Counselor Phillips, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 109-2022, and this is the comprehensive zoning bylaw changes for Grafton Heights subdivision. Be it resolved that bylaw number 109-2022 being a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 19-2019 as amended of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman for Grafton Heights subdivision, concession 1, part lot 23, parts 1, 2, 4, and 5, plan 39R 229, part of park lots 2 and 3, registered plan 7, Village of Grafton, geographic Haldeman, be read and deemed to be passed this 22nd day of September 2022. Mover, Counselor Philp, second. Counselor Booth, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 111-2022, and this is the bylaw for the Canada Post outlet at the Alnwick Civic Center. Be it resolved that bylaw number 111-2022 being a bylaw to authorize the signing and execution of a contractual agreement between the corporation of the Township of Alnwick Haldeman and Shane LaRock. I lost my spot there. Rental lease agreement for Canada Post outlet at the Alnwick Civic Center be read and deemed to be passed this 22nd day of September 2022. Mover? Counselor Booth, second. Counselor Hogg, all in favor? Carried. Our next item is item 14 and announcements or notices of motions. So I'm first on the list today. There is a county council. There's concern with the elected electoral boundary changes that have been proposed, which would take part of Alnwick, most of Alnwick, into Peterborough riding. So myself and Chief Dave Mowat will be speaking at to the panel on Monday night. We don't know what time we'll be on, but there's a panel of 3 that's coming around to listen to people on the electoral changes. What happens with us basically is it splits Alnwick Alderman. We would have 2 MPs, 2 MPPs. So you know what that would be getting into. So, and as far as the numbers concerned for the electoral area, we already fit into those numbers. And one of the reasons this is coming from the federal government, from what I can understand, is it would put Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, and Curve Lake First Nation all in one riding. But from what I understand, that's not what Alderville wants. So, and it would split the county a bit too. So we'll see how it goes. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And that's all I have for now. Councillor Philip.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Councillor Booth.
Yeah, just one thing, just to say that on September 24th, the Roseneath Fair is having a Roseneath Fair Returns Dance in the arena building on the Roseneath Fairgrounds, and it's $10 a ticket or 2 for $15. And the proceeds go to the Roseneath Fall Fair. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we know who's playing? Okay. Just joking. Anything else? Councillor Hogg?
I have nothing at this time.
Nothing? Okay. And Raw Roseneath Fair is September 30th, October 1st and 2nd. I think, are the majority of us working? Golf cart? I got the gate so far, maybe a golf cart. And probably the carousel. Okay. Approval of our confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1110-2022, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal planning meeting of Thursday, September 22nd, 2022, be read and deemed to be passed this 22nd day of September 2022. Mover? Jim, and seconded by Councillor Philip. All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn at 11:53 a.m. Councillor Booth, second. Councillor Philip, all in favor? Carried. Well, we got through it.